There are few trains with a legacy as illustrious as the 20th Century Limited. In the days before air travel, the Century was the premier way for the rich and famous to travel between New York and Chicago, and from there, on to the West Coast and Hollywood. One of the most recognizable pieces of this train still rides the rails today, and we were lucky enough to catch it on its original route. Let's take a ride back to the golden age of rail travel on the 20th Century Limited. From 1902 until 1967, the 20th Century Limited was the flagship train of the New York Central. The train traveled daily from Grand Central Terminal in New York City to LaSalle Street Station in Chicago, Illinois. The Century followed much of the same route as Amtrak's Lakeshore Limited does today, except now the Lakeshore travels down Amtrak's West Side line to Penn Station instead of serving Grand Central. And west of Whiting, Indiana, the Lakeshore switches to the former Pennsylvania Railroad and now terminates at Chicago Union Station instead of LaSalle Street. Although the days of the 20th Century Limited are long gone, one of its original passenger cars is still in operation. And this year, a few lucky people got the chance to experience it firsthand as it traveled along familiar rails. Owned by the United Railroad Historical Society of New Jersey, the Hickory Creek is the last surviving original car from the 20th Century Limited. When the Century was re-equipped post-war in 1948, this car, known as the Lookout Lounge, gave the train a distinctive look that made it world famous. In September and October of 2021, the Hickory Creek was used for 8 round trips from New York City to Albany behind an Amtrak train. Tickets for the special excursion sold out in a matter of minutes, but the URHS hopes to make even more opportunities to ride this historic car available in the near future. We now take you to New York Central's original water level route to watch a part of the so-called most famous train in the world travel down the tracks it was built for. After leaving Penn Station, the Hickory Creek travels north through Inwood Hill Park, attached to the rear of Amtrak Empire Service train number 233. The train approaches Spuyten Duyvil Bridge, where it will cross out of Manhattan and join Metro-North's Hudson Line, the former New York Central water level route. Having just crossed the bridge, the train now picks up speed as it rolls through Riverdale, New York. A bit further north, a southbound Amtrak Empire Service train passes the Hickory Creek as it approaches Scarborough, New York. At Breakneck Ridge, passengers are treated to views of Bear Mountain and Storm King Mountain just across the Hudson River. The sun has just dipped below Storm King Mountain in the distance as the Hickory Creek now rolls southbound through Cold Spring, New York. We catch another overhead look of the New York Central Lounge car as it approaches Dobbs Ferry traveling southbound. The Manhattan skyline is in sight, signaling the last few miles of a beautiful trip up the Hudson River and back on the Hickory Creek. Now back in Manhattan, the sunset reflects off the side of the train before it heads into the underground tunnels of the West Side Line and arrives into Penn Station. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing for free if you haven't already to support future episodes. And thank you for watching Rail Weekly. We'll see you next week.